The Ukrainian military has struck again at Russia's most vital logistics artery crossing the Black Sea, the Kerch Bridge. This massive structure, connecting Crimea to mainland Russia, has been a symbol of Putin's control over Crimea and a crucial pathway for the Russian fleet in the Sea of Azov. But recent relentless assaults have begun to shake its very foundations, threatening its future. Ukraine's strategic air operations targeting Russian military concentrations inside Crimea opened the door for this onslaught. A daring mission by Ukrainian intelligence units dismantled key Russian air defenses and high-value assets in the region. Footage reveals precise strikes that knocked out a multipurpose naval helicopter, a radar system crucial for airfield defense, and multiple high-tech radars, including Nebo-U, Nebo-SV, and Terex systems. These targeted blows didn't just destroy equipment, they struck at the heart of Russia's surveillance and command capabilities there. Exclusive footage shows missile evasion maneuvers and pinpoint accuracy in hitting critical Russian targets, creating chaos within Crimea's military infrastructure. One of the most significant hits was to the Krasnoperekop power substation, central to providing electricity to northern Crimea. As the substation was damaged, the entire energy supply to the northern peninsula was compromised, leaving Crimea in darkness and disarray. Following these attacks, the traffic on the Kerch Bridge altered dramatically. The bridge's Russian guards responded with extraordinary security measures. As Navy spokesman Dmytro Platonchuk confirmed, even electric and hybrid vehicles are now strictly forbidden from crossing. Intelligence agencies worry that these vehicles could be weaponized, used by Ukrainian special operations, perhaps in assassinations, sabotage, or transporting harmful devices. The fear is so intense that ordinary citizens, trying to reach their jobs, are now caught in a tightening web of suspicion and restriction. Yet, the escalation doesn't stop there. In recent days, 10 explosions rocked the occupied Saki region of Crimea. The blast sounds, the smell of burnt fuel, and the deafening impact caused alarm across the peninsula. Rumors swirled that the attacks targeted Vardeska Airport or an oil depot, strategic points that could cripple Crimea's supplies. Initial investigations suggest that Ukraine's special forces struck these targets for the third time, further fragmenting Russian logistical security. Naval patrols around the bridge are now intensified, every inch monitored more aggressively than before. The restrictions on vehicle crossings, especially banning electric vehicles, highlight not only security concerns but also a stark fear, the potential for civilian vehicles, powered by heavy batteries, to serve as clandestine carriers of explosive payloads. Russia's security agencies have learned from past sabotage, and now they treat all civilian vehicles on the bridge as potential threats. This paranoia has turned daily life into a matrix of suspicion, with even ordinary citizens living under threat. From the Kremlin's perspective, these measures seem desperate, covering up the crumbling of Russia's primary military and logistical lifeline. Trains laden with fuel, trucks carrying vital supplies, and heavy military equipment have stopped crossing the bridge. As Platonchuk bluntly asked, if trucks and freight wagons are barred, what purpose does the bridge serve anymore? Its military significance has been rendered moot, it remains as a symbol rather than a strategic asset. All these developments reveal a troubling reality: Ukraine's carefully coordinated strikes are systematically dismantling Russia's hold over Crimea. The pattern is clear: their top priority is removing the physical and electronic defenses protecting the Kerch Bridge. Think of it as a game of chess, with each accurate strike removing the pawns guarding the king, the bridge itself. As these defensive layers are eliminated, Ukraine edges closer to the real target: a strategic, permanent disruption of Russia's supply routes. Experts warn that the next assault could be even more devastating. Underwater sabotage, combined with radar and air defense attacks, indicates that Ukraine is preparing for a final, decisive blow. The goal? To not just damage but obliterate the main load-bearing segments of the bridge, preventing any future repairs and forcing Russia into a logistical nightmare. The importance of this cannot be overstated. If Ukraine succeeds in destroying or severely damaging the Kerch Bridge, the consequences will send shockwaves through Russia's military operations. The southern front, connected to vital regions like Kherson, Zaporizhia, and Donbass, would face immediate paralysis. Ammunition, fuel, and even troop movements could grind to a halt, crippling Russian advances and forcing Moscow to scramble for alternatives. The only question remains, how long can Putin's fragile control hold while this relentless campaign dismantles his symbol of power? Each explosion, each strategic strike, tightens the noose around the Kremlin's ambitions in Crimea. And as the silence on the bridge grows deafening, so does the realization that Russia's grasp on this vital corridor is slipping, piece by piece, into the depths of uncertainty. In recent days, the anxiety surrounding the security of the Kerch Bridge has deepened dramatically. Multiple loud explosions reverberated through the Saki region of Crimea, a territory temporarily under occupation. Witnesses speak of thunderous impacts echoing like distant artillery. Many wonder, did Ukraine target vital military installations? Reports suggest the dreaded Vardeska airport or an adjacent oil depot might have been the real targets. The alarms blared through the night, storm cruise missiles soaring overhead, the bridge to Crimea suddenly cut off from all traffic. Ukrainian special forces reportedly struck the Vardeska oil storage facility for the third time, escalating Kremlin fears of losing this crucial link forever. As these relentless attacks unfold, Russian patrols near the bridge intensify their movements, scanning the horizon for signs of new assaults. On the ground, authorities have imposed drastic measures. Electric cars are now strictly forbidden to cross the bridge. But what do these restrictions truly mean? Large electric vehicles are capable of concealing far more explosive material than ordinary cars. The Russian security service has learned from previous sabotage efforts, the truck bomb of 2022 and underwater attacks of 2025. Now, they see civilian vehicles as potential threats, harboring hidden dangers. This relentless paranoia extends beyond military concerns. Ordinary citizens in Crimea face a harsh reality. Commuters who once relied on electric vehicles for daily life are now trapped. Their vehicles are seen as potential weapons in enemy hands. So, while propaganda insists life returns to normal, the truth leaks out, the war's chaos eats away at normalcy, leaving civilians exposed. Putin's regime fuels this madness, claiming control while actually tightening the noose around his own people. But the nightmare doesn't stop there. The bridge's vital military role is grinding to a halt. Trucks loaded with supplies, fuel tankers, heavy military trains, all banned from crossing. The top official explains, if trucks and wagons can't move, what's the purpose of the bridge? This is no longer a transportation artery, it has become a symbolic relic. Russia's fear of Ukraine's next move has transformed a strategic lifeline into a fragile, empty shell. So, what does this all signify? Russia, trembling with dread, has cut off essential logistics. The flow of supplies to Crimea's front lines is severely restricted. This cripples their ability to send weapons, ammunition, and fuel to the southern corridors, Kherson, Zaporizhia, Donbass, the very regions critical to their plans. As the supply chain collapses, Russia's military ambitions in Ukraine face a growing wall of uncertainty. The question remains, will these measures hold? Or is Ukraine preparing for a final, devastating blow to the Kerch Bridge? The signs point to the latter. Underwater sabotage, strategic missile strikes, targeted air raids, each move reduces the bridge's resilience. The Kremlin's fears are increasing. A complex operation could deliver a lethal, permanent strike, crumbling this vital link and plunging Russia into chaos. As the world watches, one thing is clear, the war is expanding its battlefield from land to water, from air to underground tunnels. Ukraine's relentless push threatens to erase the symbol of Russian dominance here, exposing cracks in Putin's fortress. The ultimate question remains, will the next attack be the final nail? Or is Ukraine's campaign just beginning? The answers lie beneath the waves and behind the smoke, and the scars on the Kerch Bridge will soon reveal the true tide of this conflict. In our last look at the chaos, we saw how Vladimir Putin is crippling his own people under the weight of war anxieties. Worse still for the Kremlin, the Kerch Bridge's core military role is shattered now. Reports confirm bans on trucks, tankers, fuel trains, and heavy equipment haulers crossing over. Imagine the grinding halt. Dmitry Pryanlukianenko, the Navy's voice, questioned it all. If we can't send trucks or fresh wagons, where's the meaning in this bridge? Tankers, fuel haulers, even trains packed with massive gear, they're all barred lately. What does it reveal? Russia's terror of Ukraine's looming fourth onslaught has forced it to sever the bridge as its own key supply lifeline. Panic has turned this structure into a phantom artery, not a real military pipeline anymore. Today, it's just a fancy symbol of empire, hollow and exposed. Putin yanked the cord himself, terrified of the hits that could end it. Supplies trickle to a stop, yet the lies pour on. This screams the grandest deception whispered to Russians: everything's fine, just drive electric cars and watch. It slams the military brass, and Putin, into a vice. Without Crimea as a fast lane for heavy cargo to the front, detours drag on, expenses balloon, and troops face dire risks of running dry on bullets and fuel. Is it really just those plug-in cars sparking this madness, this blanket ban on even army rigs over the span? Absolutely not. No, Russia's unraveling stems from a brutal, deliberate series of blows. First, elite Ukrainian intel squads have methodically shredded Russia's prized air shields in Crimea, target by target. Week by agonizing week. As the video kicked off, these weren't flukes. They were precision strikes, a deliberate clearing to pay the skies for a bridge takedown. Picture chess warfare: you're toppling every guardian pawn around your monarch, the Kerch Bridge, sweeping away radars, choppers, bunkers, and anti-air nets one sly move at a time. Why? To zero in on the prize, the bridge itself. But can Putin stop the encroaching storm? Will the Kerch Bridge crumble next under Ukraine's unseen hand, leaving Russia's southern defenses in ruins and the people's faith in tatters? The air thickens with dread, every alarm blast echoing betrayal. The air hung heavy with the acrid stench of burning fuel and fear, where the bridge once roared with the rumble of unstoppable convoys. Russian leader Vladimir Putin, suffocating his people under wartime paranoia, now faced a nightmare: the Kerch Bridge's vital military role completely crippled. Bans now slammed shut for trucks, tankers, fuel-laden trains, and carriers of crushing equipment, no crossing allowed. Dmitry Pryanlukianenko, the Navy's stern messenger, posed the gut-punch question: if trucks and new wagons aren't crossing, what's the bridge even for? Tankers with gasoline, trains hauling monster gear? All forbidden. Panic had rewritten its purpose, hadn't it? Ukraine's threats loomed like shadows, forcing Russia to dismantle its lifeline artery single-handed. No more pulsing military flow across those spans. The bridge lingered as a mere imperial trophy, ornamental and impotent. Putin cut the switch himself, his dread of assaults halting the stream. Grit your teeth at this irony: the supply veins choked, while propaganda drones on unblinking. It exposed the colossal fraud sold to Russians, that invincibility meant daily hardships and electric car bans. Suddenly, command and Putin teetered in jeopardy. Deny Crimea routes for bulky war needs, and alternatives crawled slower, costs soared sky-high, soldiers starved for ammo and diesel, risks mounting like gathering thunder. Was this hysteria sparked by whispers of electric peril alone, barricading even armed transports from the bridge's embrace? Hardly. Beneath it pulsed a lethal, traceable assault chain. Dedicated Ukrainian intel forces swept Crimea's skies, obliterating Russia's elite air defenses bit by deafening bit these past weeks. Front and center in our tale, these weren't scattershot raids. Targeted, tactical, they carved a path for looming bridge devastation. Envision a chess master's cunning, plucking each defending piece around the king, the Kerch pillar, radars humming into silence, choppers thudding to earth, fortresses crumbling, air shields dissolving in fire. One by one. Setting the board for the final aim, striking the bridge outright. What twisted game is this, where Russia's defenses crumble like dust, and the Kerch Bridge teeters on the brink of oblivion? Will Putin's paranoia unleash a cascade of chaos, or is a shocking reversal waiting in the wings? The distant hum of missiles sharpens the tension, hearts pounding. The Ukrainian forces are systematically dismantling Russia's aerial dominance over Crimea. Their relentless attacks weaken Russia's defenses, clearing the way for long-range strikes. Experts believe Ukraine's Flamingo cruise missile, armed with enough explosive force, could target and destroy the crucial Kerch Bridge. But it's not just missiles. Underwater systems with similar power are also being prepared. The Black Sea, once a Russian-controlled fortress, now teeters on the brink of vulnerability. The dense air defense, which kept Ukraine at bay, is crumbling piece by piece. This shrinking safety zone lets Ukrainian missiles slip through, shifting the balance dangerously. The Kremlin's grip on Crimea is slipping away before Putin's eyes, revealing a harsh truth: the enemy's advance cannot be stopped. What does this mean for Russia? Their leader's promise of invincibility begins to crack. The protective air shield, built to defend the peninsula, is failing. Despite offensive propaganda claiming victory, the reality is stark. The Kerch Bridge, vital for Russian logistics, is under threat. Every attack chips away at Putin's narrative of control. Crimea's residents have already tasted the chaos. 3 times, they faced this panic. First, in October 2022, a truck explosion nearly brought the bridge down. Then, in July 2023, Ukraine used an experimental naval drone to cause damage. Russia quickly repaired the damage, but cracks appeared. The most alarming blow came in June 2025, a major underwater explosion targeting the bridge's supports. The attack damaged the vital underwater supports connecting Crimea to Russia, shaking the regime's confidence. The big question remains, how long can Ukraine keep striking without total destruction? Every strike weakens Russia's grip, exposing its vulnerabilities. The Black Sea, once a safe zone for Russian military dominance, is transforming into a battlefield? Once thought secured by the wealth of defenses, Crimea now faces the terrifying possibility of losing its lifeline. The gates of defeat are closing, and the Kremlin's illusions are shattered one after another. The damage to the Kerch Bridge, even when severe, has never caused its total collapse. This structure is not just a simple roadway, it's a marvel of engineering. Built to withstand ship collisions, ice flows, even natural disasters. Imagine a giant centipede, with multiple legs supporting its body. Remove one leg, and it still stands. Strike one support, and the rest bear the load. Typically, explosions carve holes, but don't topple these marvels. Underwater shock waves twist and reflect unpredictably. Destroying a bridge involves precise mathematics, physics, and ruthless planning. Ukraine's efforts to find this delicate balance edge ever closer to victory. Each underwater sabotage, followed by meticulous radar clearing, hints at an even more devastating attack on the horizon. This time, the goal isn't a simple crack. Ukraine aims to destroy the main load-bearing sections, the heavy girders and trusses, permanently. But why such relentless persistence? The answer is clear, the strategic heart of Russian supply lines. A permanent collapse could annihilate Russia's southern military front. The Kerch Bridge isn't just a way across, it's the main artery for ammunition, fuel, and armored vehicles. Cutting it off would force Russia into chaos, forcing supplies to reroute along a slow, cumbersome land route across occupied territories. Those routes are vulnerable, elongated, riddled with delays and risks. The stakes couldn't be higher. A single fire could plunge Crimea into deep distress. With each attack, fears grow that Ukraine's long-range systems like the Flamingo missile could finally breach the defenses, rendering the bridge unusable forever. Yet, the challenge remains astonishing. Bridges are designed for resilience. They fight back against collisions, ice, and storms with layered redundancy. Cutting one support won't cause collapse, not easily anyway. Ukraine's task is daunting: calculate exact, destructive strikes to overcome those defenses. Underwater explosions, combined with radar clearance, hint at plans to do just that. Not just a crack, but a complete annihilation of the load-bearing supports. Imagine the shockwaves emanating underwater, designed to fracture those vital segments. Doing so requires mathematical precision, physics mastery, with no margin for error. Any mistake would mean failure. Ukraine's experts are racing against this impossible clock, risking everything to smash a symbol of Russian power. But the real question lingers: what happens if they succeed? The consequences could ripple far beyond Crimea. The entire southern front of Russia's military might would face paralysis. The flow of supplies would grind to a halt. A nightmare scenario for the Kremlin, pouring chaos into the heart of their occupied territories. As the world watches this game of shadows, each move reveals a terrifying truth: Ukraine is pushing the limits, threatening to destroy the backbone of Russia's military strategy. And the ultimate question remains: how long can Putin's fortress withstand this relentless assault? Building on the first scenario, where severing the Kerch Bridge could cripple Russia's supply lines to the southern front, halting vital shipments of ammunition, fuel, and heavy armor to Kherson, Zaporizhia, and Donbass. Imagining the Kerch Bridge crumbling, do you hear the thunderous roar of steel twisting apart, the acrid stench of burnt metal hanging in the humid Black Sea air? Picture the bridge not just damaged, but utterly obliterated, a catastrophic blow that shatters Putin's military facade. The second grim possibility? An overwhelming crush on the Azov Sea land corridor, that tortuous alternative route snaking along the northern coast through occupied lands. Have you ever felt the exhausting grind of detours that stretch miles further, slowing supplies to a maddening crawl? This pathway, vulnerable to Ukraine's relentless HIMARS artillery and piercing long-range missiles, now strains under the weight of diverted logistics. Railway lines, half-built and capacity-starved, gasp under the pressure. What price does Putin pay when his war machine stalls, fuel drying up in soldier tanks, shells turning silent in artillery cannons? This chokehold exposes Russia's deepest vulnerabilities, unveiling a retreat born of desperation. A hefty toll is exacted, the operational edge blunted, with Novorossiya bases like Sevastopol falling far short of frontline reaches. Patrols drag longer, fleets lose their swiftness, and Russia's naval doctrine fractures under the strain. Yet, this isn't merely a logistical rot, it's a strategic earthquake, rocking Putin's Black Sea dominion. The Kerch Bridge, once a lifeline, risks transforming Sevastopol, an impregnable fortress since Tsarist times, into a besieged ghost ship. Without that vital link, supply pipelines vanish, maintenance bays echo empty, trapping the fleet in self-made isolation. Imagine the Kremlin's shock as ships huddle eastward, fleeing to distant ports like Novorossiya for refuge from Ukrainian drones and missiles. Is this the humiliation of an empire retreating inward, its former crown jewel now a liability? As panic grips the Kremlin, questions fester. What if fuel starvation claims Russian troops, their boots crunching over unfamiliar, hostile terrain? Could this overload trigger a domino of failures, with morale plummeting like falling artillery shells, diplomatic ties fraying, and the very war effort teetering toward catastrophe? The Kremlin's allies squirm, faced with astronomical costs and the specter of military unravel. Such a fourth strike wouldn't just topple a bridge, it would dismantle naval dreams, forcing a painful exodus. Feel the cold sweat of isolation, the feverish churn of retreating vessels, as Putin's paranoia deepens. Unexpectedly, this choke point exposes Russia's bluff, proving Ukraine's chess mastery in dismantling domineering pawns. If the Kerch Bridge fractures fully, only prolonging its agony through endless repairs, the fallout reverberates, a logistical abyss spawning overloads and strategic withdrawals. Russia, incapable of sustaining its invasion, faces an existential choke, where every delayed shipment whispers defeat. Will Putin's illusion of invincibility crumble next, or does a new twist lurk in the shadows? Building on the previous segment, Russia's naval retreat from Crimea is forcing a humiliating shift, with ships fleeing to distant mainland ports like Novorossiysk under relentless Ukrainian threats from drones and missiles. Can you imagine the bitter sting of defeat as Russia's mighty Black Sea fleet slinks away like a defeated beast, tail between its legs? This retreat isn't just a setback, it's a crushing blow that shreds their very lifeline. What price must Putin pay for his hubristic empire dreams? The cost hits hard, stripping away their operational might in one brutal swipe. Novorossiysk sits worlds apart from the western Black Sea's edge near Ukraine. Imagine the fatigue, sailors battling endless waves, patrols stretching into exhausting marathons, their grip on the coastline slipping like sand through clenched fists. What was once an aggressive armada prowling Ukrainian shores? Now, it's reduced to a huddled coastal guardian, cowering in the shadows. The smell of diesel exhaust mixes with the salty tang of fear as maintenance docks groan under the strain, unable to match Sevastopol's storied legacy of shipyards that hummed with purpose for centuries. And the repairs? A nightmare unfolds in the chaos. Spare parts trickle in sporadically, heavy machinery barred from crossing the vulnerable Kerch Bridge. Visualize the clang of wrench on rusted hull, the acrid smoke of futile welding, as damaged vessels rot in makeshift berths. Without swift fixes, Russia's fleet faces a slow, agonizing demise, ships condemned to the scrapyard, their once proud silhouettes fading into oblivion. Through what twisted irony has a single bridge become the executioner's blade? It slices deep into Putin's naval dominance, drowning his Black Sea ambitions in the cold depths of retreat. The Kerch Bridge, that colossal emblem of Russian might, now stands as a mocking monument to their expelled power, a trophy of humiliation etched in steel and seawater. But why stop at logistics? Picture the psychological ripple. A fourth Ukrainian assault on the bridge could shatter Putin's facade, his boasts of eternal stability sinking like a torpedoed dreams into the sea of Azov's murky embrace. What if the Russian people witness their idol's grand creations crumble under foe's fury? Embarrassment would pierce the air like a sharp whistle in the storm, as faith erodes in the leader who can't shield his prized symbol. Yet, Ukraine's hunger wouldn't end there. Neutralize the Kerch Bridge? They'd press on, targeting the next weak links in Russia's armor. The smell of gunpowder lingers, the rumble of distant explosions echoing a relentless pursuit. What vulnerabilities pulse in their supply veins? How will Putin spin this when his lies unravel? The tension mounts. What's next in this cataclysm? Stay tuned to uncover the unfolding terror of war's hidden fronts. Imagine this: if Ukraine severs the vital link that once fueled Russia's invasion, what hidden dominoes will topple next, exposing the Kremlin's crumbling empire right at its heart? As we left off, neutralizing the Kerch Bridge would shatter Putin's illusions of control, paving the way for bolder strikes deep into occupied lands, where the real battle for the south intensifies. Could a single rail hub become the noose tightening around Russia's throat? Picture the Melitopol railway junction, that throbbing nerve center of the Azov Sea land route. Trains rumble through the night, laden with crates that echo like distant thunder. Dust swirls in the humid air, mixing with the sharp tang of oiled metal. If the bridge falls silent, every bullet, every tank rolling south funnels here. One precise hit, and the supply line chokes. No more endless convoys snaking toward the front. Soldiers stare at empty horizons, ammunition crates gathering cobwebs in the salty breeze. Would that strangle the advance, leaving Russia's forces gasping in the scorched fields of Kherson and Zaporizhia? But wait, is water the next weapon in this relentless storm? The North Crimean Canal's sturdy dams and locks stand like forgotten sentinels, their concrete cool and unyielding under the relentless sun. Pumps hum faintly, drawing life from the earth to quench farms and factories alike. Strike there, and taps run dry across the peninsula. Fields wither to cracked earth, the air thick with the dry, choking scent of parched soil. Civilians whisper in dim kitchens, lights flickering as pressure mounts on Moscow. This isn't just logistics crumbling, it's lives unraveling, thirst gnawing at the edges of daily routines. How much desperation can the Kremlin endure before the humanitarian tide turns against them? Or perhaps, hidden bunkers pulse with frantic commands? Local outposts and power grids, once buzzing with false security, now hum with unease. Generators drone on, vibrating through the ground like a heartbeat quickening in fear. The air reeks of diesel fumes, sharp and acrid, as shadows shift in the command rooms. With air defenses gutted near the bridge, the skies open wide, an invisible corridor for swift, unseen blows. Depots of shadowed supplies erupt in sudden roars, flames licking the night sky with a searing heat that singes the soul. Commanders bark orders into crackling radios, voices laced with panic. Is this the unraveling of the rear guard, where Russia's grip slips like sand through clenched fists? Feel the tremor, this betrayal cuts deepest among those who swore loyalty. Civilian overseers in the occupied zone's paste-tiled floors, the cold seep from walls mirroring their growing dread. Moscow's vows of an ironclad sanctuary ring hollow now, drowned out by the wail of distant sirens slicing the tense silence. The Kerch Bridge's frenzy, barriers clanging shut, traffic grinding to a halt, proves it, safety was always a lie. Attacks lurk around every corner, shadows lengthening with each passing hour. What faith remains when the promised fortress crumbles? This fracture whispers harsh realities to ordinary folk huddled in cramped homes, the musty scent of worry hanging heavy. Putin's iron rule. Fractured. The conflict creeps inward, boots echoing on every threshold, doors barricaded against the unknown. Leaders who boasted of unbreakable shields now cower, their arrogance exposed like raw nerves. Families clutch at fading hopes, children's laughter silenced by the weight of uncertainty. Their futures? Teetering on the edge of this hubris-fueled chaos. Should the bridge seal shut forever, no trains crossing, no supplies flowing for war or peace, the blow lands like a thunderclap on the Kremlin. Logistics freeze, alternatives buckle under the strain, and the facade of power shatters into 1,000 glittering shards. But here's the twist that chills the spine: this isn't just about a bridge anymore. It's the spark igniting rebellion from within, where occupied hearts turn, whispering of freedom's dawn amid the ruins. Russia's empire, once a colossus, now teeters on the brink, one final push away from collapse. What if the real victory lies not in steel and fire, but in the unbreakable will that outlasts them all?